him being the image. So that's something that should be avoided, I think, when we appreciate others.
Definitely. There's a story that I'd like to share with you. It's about a teacher. It's in the Chicken Soup for the Soul book. It's about a teacher who was a high school teacher, and what she did was, one day she walks into her classroom and she tells her students, she says, I want you to take out a blank piece of paper, and I want you to write down the name of every single classmate in your classroom. And I want you to write one thing that you love and appreciate about your classmates, every single one of them. Everybody started writing. She took the papers back home. She compiled them together. And the next day, she started passing to the students what other students thought of them. And she said, like, one of the things where people were like, oh, I never knew people liked me so much. I never knew people appreciated me. Fast forward a couple of years later, one of the students gets killed in a war. And the teacher gets invited to the funeral. And when she gets there, the parents say, oh, you know, our son used to talk about you all the time. He loved you, and we want to show you something. It turns out the student, when he was at war, he kept that piece of paper with him, the paper that had what people loved and appreciated about him. And when he died, it was in his pocket. And of course, like, the teacher starts crying and shows you the power of appreciation. You know, it's human nature to want to feel valued, to want to feel like you belong, to want to feel that people care about you. Another story about Abraham Lincoln. When he was assassinated, he had with him a worn-out article titled, Abby Lincoln is one of the greatest statesmen of all time. Isn't it interesting that the President of the United States would be walking around with a worn-out newspaper clipping in his pocket from somebody who was giving him praise? And if you studied the American history, you know that Abraham Lincoln was never really appreciated until after his death. And there he was, hanging on to one man's opinion, saying he was doing a good job. Next point, listening skills. Contrary to what a lot might think, in many practice, the most important job of a leader is not to speak direct or advice. The most important job for a leader is to listen. In a recent interview with Tom Peters, who's a leadership and management expert, he said that the 4 most powerful words in business leadership is, what do you think? He said that listening should be a leader's full-time job. Why is that important? Because in order for a leader to make well-informed decisions, he needs to be a gatherer of inputs, ideas, feedback, opinions, perspectives, as well as personal experiences. You know, leaders should be aware of what's going on around them, not just from their people, but from the industry, you know, what's competitors, what they're doing. This is very important. If they're so concerned with, you know, sounding good, you know, giving information, then they're not paying attention to what's going on around them. Would you agree? Okay. Some people are like, no. Okay. What's the difference between listening and hearing?
One you're paying attention.
Yes, over there.
Listening leads to comprehension, understanding.
Yes. And hearing is. Yes, I agree. Okay, so let's look at the difference. How many of you have ever talked to somebody and, you know, you're talking to them and they're like, yeah, and you know that they're not listening to you? Yeah, you know, they can be typing on a computer, they can be, you know, looking at a magazine, they're not really listening to you, you know it. You know, according to research, 7% of communication is words, 34% is the tone that you're using, and 54% is body language. So good listeners don't just pay attention to the words, they make eye contact, they look at the body language, they listen to the whole message. In a volunteer-based organization, this is very important because people are there because they want to be there, they want to feel appreciated. If you don't listen to them, they're going to stop participating. They're not going to share their ideas with you. They're not going to share their feedback. Eventually, they might leave. Most of the time, he was giving instructions to people, telling them what to do. She said, okay, I want you to try something new. Next time you have a meeting, she said, you walk in and you exactly say, the purpose of this meeting is for me to find out from you what you feel is going on in each of your departments, what you feel the breakdowns are, and what you need from me. She said, and that's it. And let them talk, can talk themselves out. And then when they stop talking, I want you to say, well, what else? And let them talk some more. He said, okay, I'll do that. He goes back 3 days later, he pulls her aside and he says, I just had the most powerful meeting I've ever had in my career. He said, I did exactly what you said. He said, and I learned about my team during that team meeting more than I ever learned in my whole executive career. It's really, really powerful when you really pay attention. You know, people share, people are going to tell you. They're going to tell you what's going on. You know, it's human nature. When somebody tells you to do something, you don't want to do it. Would you agree? To an extent? No? Okay. All right. Dale Carnegie, in his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, one of his principles is to be interested rather than interesting. One of the reasons people fail to listen is because they're so concerned about what they're going to say next. Would you agree? How many of you have ever felt that way? You know, if somebody's talking and you're thinking, what am I going to say next? I want to be interesting. I want the other person to agree with me, to like me. You know, if you want to be popular with people, if you want to create rapport, you need to be a good listener. You need to be interested in other people. When I was growing up, I have a very curious personality. I always want to find out what's going on, you know, what makes some people more successful, what motivates some people, what other people don't get motivated. And one of the things that I was interested in is why are some people so popular? Why are some people so good with other people? There used to be some people that I've noticed growing up that are so good with other people. People just, you know, are attracted to them. They share their ideas with them. And I didn't get it. I thought, you know, you have to be cool, you have to be popular, you have to be interesting in order for people to like you. Eventually, like, I grew up and I started reading a lot of books and I realized that what all these people had in common is that they're genuinely interested in other people. When you talk to them, they're really interested in what you have to say. And that's why people open up to them. Would you agree?
Yes. Do we have to?
I'm sorry?
Do we have to agree?
No, you don't have to. It's a free country.
Right.
So as a leader, it's very important for you to listen to your members, to invite them to share their ideas, to be really interested in them. If you're interested in your members, if you show them that you care about them, you know, they'll give you their loyalty. Would you guys agree that you would give a lot more to a leader that you like and respect than to a leader that you do not like? Anybody doesn't disagree? Why?
I disagree. I don't give the leader. I give the idea of what he carries.
Okay.
The leader, personal, no. I don't think so. I'm giving them anything. But I'm giving my support to the idea he's carrying.
Okay. But let's say you don't like somebody. Do you think if you like somebody, you would be more receptive to their ideas? Imagine somebody that you just hate, a leader that you just hate. Let's say, you know, I don't want to offend anybody, but let's say the president of Israel says something, an idea. The minute he starts talking, you're like close it off. You don't want to listen to him because you don't like him, right?
True.
To an extent, it is true. You're like, no, I would listen to him.
You might say something.
You're right. But
Actually, I
Well, I'm not judging because
I would say this.
like him. I'm just caring about what he cares.
Actually, I would get the opinion about myself from my enemies, not from my friends.
that's a good point.
I would listen to the president of Israel very, very, very.
That's a good point. But the majority of people will not. The average person would not. Yes.
Human nature, President Constance. You already have a law. If you don't like somebody, there's already a law. Exactly. That's true. I mean, natural just how it is.
It's true, but if you really want to know, you have to listen to people who don't like you or your enemies, what they're saying.
Right.
It doesn't mean you have to agree, but you want to listen to them and not build that wall.
It's true.
Because if you build that wall, you're going to miss something very important.
It's true. It's true. Like that's if you a lot of people talk about that. I agree with you. But the average person doesn't know that. The average person would just shut somebody down because they don't like them.
Would be about
You know, like China and Korea now, they have a conflict.
I think-
of opinions.
Yes.
I think you're not gonna stop liking somebody because you don't know that person. You're gonna start. You don't like that person because of reasons. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're not gonna be as interested. And we're talking here about employer, employee, not political. So you're not gonna like that person. I think the question was clear. We just move it. I will work for somebody that I like. I will try to do my best for the manager that I like. The managers that I don't like, I don't care much. even if the idea is good, because I know he does not appreciate my work, okay? And I know, as a person, I'm a human being. I'm not an angel, okay? I'm a human being, and I'm going to look at that person as I admire what he's saying, therefore, I will do extra work. I'll go the extra mile. But if he's not, I may to keep my salary. If I believe that I wouldn't find a job,
I think that the thing here is receptive. You know, I think people are more receptive to a person who they like than they are to a person that they don't like, especially when it comes to criticism. Now, I say more receptive. That means some people can be equally receptive, and some people might be unaware that they're really not being receptive. They might think that they are. Some people think that they're very receptive, but then you can do like a test with them and see, have this person suggest an idea in a meeting and this person suggests an idea, and see which are they inclined to go with the idea or with the person suggesting it. And a lot of people will go with the person suggesting it.
Definitely.
A lot of people. I'm not saying all people.
Definitely. I agree. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question about listening.
Okay.
Sometimes if a leader listens too much, could be accused of being undecisive or not being a leader or in charge of a meeting. Let's say you listen too much, too many opinions. The meeting's out of control, isn't it?
I think you have to create. Exactly. You have to create a balance. You don't just sit there and let people talk over you. But you are listening, but you let everybody know that you are listening. You are quiet, but you're aware of what's going on. And when you do talk, you're not just going to say, wisdom's going to come out of your mouth. If that makes sense. It's about creating a balance, not just listening and not talking, but at the same time listening, to the hidden messages, to what's going on, the body language, the interaction between your team. Yes.
I think what he's saying is that what a leader does, and what I've noticed is very helpful, because I've watched how some of my supervisors have been talking, is that a listener also knows what kind of questions to pose to get the people around them to kind of start thinking about something. So instead of putting it forward, you pose a question, and then you pose another question. So you're asking and you're leading them in a way, but they're having a say, and they have a choice.
Yes.
I believe it's important to listen to everything. It's how you act afterwards. Do you take everybody's opinions and see exactly like you said, the hidden message, and act upon that, or do you take everybody's message and you just go ahead with every single thing, and then that wouldn't be that I think would not be beneficial. So I think you do need to listen to every single person, but the critical aspect is how you act and how you react to the ideas that come your way.
I agree. Thank you. Yes.
I think situation and condition and the purpose of the conversations dictates how do you receive and send. These are three more important. But Little Kipsi and I always speak from a therapist point of view. There's a reason for everything, and we have to make a reason for the thing. How to try to conditions, purpose, and situation. Small action. The situation will dictate how you receive and send.
Yes.
There are certain situations that require you to listen. There are certain situations that require you not to listen. You need to respond. And sometimes the position of the person giving and receiving dictates how you receive and how you send.
Yes. I agree. Yes.
To be a leader is to be a team player. You have to offer something to people. You could have a title and you're invisible, nobody listens to you.
Of course. Of course. Extremes never work. When I say listening, I'm not saying you don't participate. I'm just saying you pay attention to what's going on around you. You let other people in your team participate. I agree with you 100%. It's not about just being quiet and invisible. It's about being aware of what's going on around you, what's going on in your team. Yes.
But in leadership, you can assume different roles. Sometimes you can listen when you need to listen, but there are times where you need also to act like a dictator, and where things need to happen, right? Because you can be all the time listening, being nice.
Of course,
so
of course.
You have to switch roles, and at times you can be.
It's about a balance.
You have to be very fluid. You have to be very balanced, and you have to act the way what the situation requires.
You, and then you, and then we're going to move on.
Okay. Level of listening. What I was so amazed last night, I think it's Jalal away.